Wouldn't be a motorsport story, would it, without a bit of drama in the build-up. Speaking of drama,
one of the BT 50s, and that's down at turn 4, so at the top of Wakefield Street, halfway between there and turn 5 at Flinders.
it looks like Ryle Harris's colours. We can't see a lot from there. Making sure that the driver is safe. Again, some of the efforts that have been put in by not only supercars, but the teams, and the cross-referencing with supercars, the main series, as well as this ECB SuperUtes category, is that we're going to learn from some of the safety aspects across all categories. Geez, that was a hard hit.
Just got the Ute crossed up, didn't he? This will be better for us to see from the wall cam. Trying to correct it. Got the tyre walls, broke the left front, and put it onto its side. In the end, it was a fairly soft roll onto the side, so he'll be perfectly fine. Bit of work to do for the Peters Motorsport team. Two-car outfit, the Mazda BT50 team with three-time V8 Utes champion Ryle Harris, who was quickest this morning.
So we normally see Ryle in those Bush Ranger colours that have been caught out by it. Ryle in the black, red and green car.
Down to turn number 1.
How great was that shot there from the Adelaide fly cam? Oh, and there's contact made.
It's Walsh who's split the field and will get away with this as long as the chase car sees him in the distance, and Walsh from the middle of the pack will now have to do the chasing.
Great rolling start. Good jump by Ryle Harris. He's a class act, isn't he? And he was able to turn in with heaps of confidence. There's this incident that we saw with Walsh. Just used a bit too much curb on that turn in there.
Walsh goes to the inside. You know how tight this goes, and contact going through. So it wasn't the curb, it was...
So the contact happened before the curb.
Yeah.
There you go. That was a much better shot for us to look at it. So Toby Price giving no racing room there.
Yeah, straight into
no,
it.
but very little racing room. He's a fierce competitor. You do not win the Dakar if you're not a fierce competitor.
Exactly right. There's the contact in the background there, and it sent the field scattering. Price will get away with this one. You can't get two cars, or two Utes in this case, through.
Truck breaking down on the way, which is always unfortunate, but it is speaking of unfortunate,
it's Chris Formosa, and it's damaged the rear of the truck as well. It's pulled away the guard, and it's...
Looks like that diff housing has come loose in the swing arm that do less damage to the car, and you can replace that link very easily. So that's unfortunate for Chris Formosa.
Done the right thing and gone up the escape road at Flinders Street and backed it in, and yet no wonder it's done some damage. I mean,
it's a hard hit.
They're
it's a
fairly
real hard
tough
hit.
Utes, but even they had their limits as he flounced the tyre wall front and rear. It was lucky for Matt McKeldin arriving on the scene too, not to drill the back of the Aldgate entry. A Ford Ranger in the field, and I think by this point he would have realised the car was starting to crab its way up through Flinders and decided to park it up and not do any more damage. So Dontis moves up now into 6. Walsh is behind, and that's
like
Price.
Around.
Price has undone it now and facing backwards into the wall at turn 11.
Off the curb, well done, Toby Price.
The Dakar champ. That's a bounce through the chicane.
And still just committed to the throttle, kept his foot pegged.
This was part 2, and
this one didn't work out so well for him, did it?
Almost took the camera for a ride as well, and just enough of the glance. The damage was done on this side of the track when we found those 4-ton concrete blocks on the outside. The on-board perspective.
All on his own there. So look like the car, you use a lot of curb there at turn 11 on the inside.
Down the inside goes McKeldin again on Price, and they're big Utes, so space to the limit at the best of times. 3 wide for Harris, and he gets the job done down there at turn 7. Oh, it's on. McKeldin and Walsh contact, and he survives it. Just.
This is the opening lap. Battle here. 3 wide, or do we call it 4?
Oh,
it's pretty close to it.
Could have been a big incident between Walsh and Matt McKeldin. Front on shot, you'll see him come out and just a whole sea of trucks. Alexander almost lost control on the way through, and Matt McKeldin would have been a very busy man behind the wheel of the 99.
And this is on board here with Toby Price. He's on the outside, Appleton there, off to the right. Toby just watches where he's going to make sure he wasn't going to bounce back in front of him. And this was the replay of the Walsh Gasparak incident. Lucky that those guys kicked
for Team 18 and AC Delco Racing just to get here with their transporter. Broke down halfway across from Melbourne to Adelaide. They had to get it towed back, and then he arrived here late before the event. And this is when Harris got 2 for the price of the 1 down at the turn 9 hairpin.
That we were in practice too, and that we weren't in the race because they were pretty aggravated, weren't they? We saw this moment with Dontis just in that tricky, wet, drying conditions where he just got out of the tram tracks.
Bush Ranger entry, speaking of going into the bush, Craig Woods, our round winner from Adelaide, went right across the track down there at turn 5 and decided to join back at about turn number 8. This was Matt McKeldin, I think just trying to pull up and avoiding Steve Wilson in front and almost looping the Kubota entry, like Ben Walsh did down at turn number 6 in the Car City entry. What about this last lap from Ryle Harris?
Look how busy his hands are on the steering wheel there. He's catching it, how good they are.
Oh, he was Dontas getting that curb, and it was history from that point. He was never going to pull up the Total Tools Mitsubishi Triton. That's his second spin in 2 days here at Winton Raceway. No damage, but probably some pretty second-hand tyres, maybe.
So that was a long...
The margin was nearly a full second as Ben Walsh spins around that Car City number 8.
A little bit further up the road than where he got the job done yesterday. We go on board here with Gasparak. He's giving us a really good view of the Car City Super Ute going on. He needs to come up with something because the outside's not going to work for you, mate. He'll give it a go, though.
He'll try. If Harris can hold this down, it'll be the most hard-fought. They make contact again. Will they be able to pull this up? No. They go off the track, and it's going to let Cameron go through. Meantime, Tom Alexander is going to win this race. His second win of the year in the East Coast Bull Bar Super Utes. And Aaron Cameron is going to get second place at the final corner.
Wow. What happens is Dontas is now in front. Ryle's going to brake. Stop the car, he's gone really late. Now, anytime you see a front wheel make contact with a rear wheel like that, see that kingpin has broken, left front wheel flapping, because the rear wheel on Dontas's car is pretty solidly mounted, it's rotating around.
And there's the end result.
And it would have ripped the steering wheel out of Ryle's hand. Look at his head wobbling around in there.
Looking from behind down at turn 10.
It was building,
wasn't it?
it?
Yeah, absolutely it was. For about 2 laps, they were running second and third. It put Dontas back to 4th. And in the end, Harris got 5th, but that could have been second position, and that's when Aaron Cameron said, thank you. Weave our way through that long left-hander and up to turn number 7 on lap 1. Down the inside goes Tom Alexander and gets into Toby Price at turn 7. Reverse grid racing, don't you just love it?
Helping yourself out, because the last thing he wants to do is go for a little run through the pit lane during this race. That'll hurt him. And that's that replay of Tom Alexander into the back of Toby Price. Round he went. Everybody did a very good job behind these two to not make contact with Toby Price. Look at that. Straight onto the opposite lock. From that point, Toby's sitting there going, go around me. Alexander might win this on the road, but be relegated post. We'll keep you updated.
It's a replay from turn 10. It's the view from the AC Delco, Colorado. And, nice driving from Thomas Gasparak, just avoiding the scene of the crime. It's the replay of what happened down at turn 10 and got into the side of the Mitsubishi Triton.
Well,
back into its natural habitat.
That was nothing short of just awkward, unfortunately. I can't say anything else. So looks like Formosa's gone a little bit wide on the run into turn 10, 15 to 16 mark. The racing is going to be brilliant. Look at this shot. How good is it?
That's Ben Walsh in the Car City entry, car number 8. Absolutely in opposite lock.
Sideways smoke coming off that inside tyre. And this is key for me. And this is what I said when I drove the car. You could slide them around like that.
Formosa. And lifting the left rear. I haven't seen that so far this year. Back in the Ford Ranger, the Allgate entry. Did he lose it around here, or is this going to be one of the biggest saves of the weekend so far?
Look at that right front wheel angle. That is maximum amount of lock available to the driver.
But man, no one's getting away, and that's a good sign. There's McKeldin, one of the most spectacular laps, and he's into the wall. Into the wall for Matt McKeldin. We talked about this, haven't we? If you haven't losing one of these utes, it will go on, and eventually you will find the wall. This has done too much damage. That was from cosmetic.
That was a big hit. So we're looking for the Kubota entry. That car there, little moment, and then boom, big hit with the wall.
And that tyre wall's 4 deep, and it still managed to absorb the impact.
So he's wide there on the exit of 5. And then when he's come across to 6, you almost need to touch that curb on the inside to get the car to keep swinging around the corner, and he's missed that curb. So it was really early on in the turn-in phase, and he's out in the marbles. Big impact. A lot of damage to that left front corner. Barber hanging on the outside through turn 1. I was thinking it's going to be the long way around there, mate. You're going to do it hard. Oh, contact. Is that Dantas?
Dantas, and he's shedding skin, or at least bumpers in this case.
Little gaps, and they almost have a bit of a guillotine effect to them if you rub along the outside of those walls too hard. Nope, he didn't make contact, so there's something else going on there. Maybe some exhaust damage from the hit in the back.
For the green flag, rolling start here for the final race, 11 laps around this Reed Park circuit. Look at Tom Alexander trying to push the SP Tools entry to the inside. A whole lot of speed coming from Elliot Barber, and Woods, who's got the speed, but Alexander into the wall. I thought he stuck his nose down there, might have had it smacked, and now he's hit the wall before we get to turn number 1.
And we can see all that radiator fluid departing its way from inside the radiator. It should be contained in there. So let's have a look at this. Elliot Barber jumped early, and then if we look to the right-hand side of the shot there, Walsh is squeezing Alexander. They make contact, and the rear tyre on Alexander's car trips over the front of Walsh's, and it spits him across the field hard into that left-hand.
This is what I watched. He got the better start here, and Walsh gave him enough room, but then he just got past and they started to bang mirrors, and then across the left-hand side goes to Colorado. Big hit into the wall, left-hand side.
It's a big hit, and really, that rear shot particularly shows that that was massively avoidable. There was plenty of space on the driver's right-hand side there for Alexander, so I'd say that knowing Ross Stone, he's a pretty hard taskmaster. He'll be sitting him down and saying, mate, come on, you need a bit more awareness. But thankfully, he's okay.
4-ton concrete blocks moved into a triangle down there on the right, the left-hand side going in. This is more action happening on the exit. While the safety ute was called, there was Aaron Cameron just giving the wall a touch up on the left-hand side.
Now, this is a separate incident.
Yeah.
So this point here...
Oh, the teammates into each other.
And the safety car boards and flags are out at this point. So it can be awkward when you're in the car in the front group. Dantas on the outside, Cameron on the inside, and he's pushing Dantas all the way to the outside of the circuit, and now it's Cameron off the road.
He almost got it done, but now smashes the Cooper sign in the middle of the back straight, and he'll need to clear that because that'll put engine temperatures right up. It's cleared away now, and he continues on. Fairly desperate stuff at the restart.
Across the road, and those sort of pickups and feelings that you get from the driver's seat are pretty important.
Big moment here for Aaron Cameron. We'll go to Cam in a moment. He's had a big moment. He's rolled into the gravel trap. And Aaron Cameron, for the second time this year, has rolled the Bush Ranger entry. He did it in qualifying in Adelaide, and has now found the beach down at turn number 1.
So very different rollover to the one that we saw in Adelaide.
2001, I think that was.
2001, yeah. And then we saw Lee Holdsworth do something very similar at Winton on the exit of turn 4. So it does happen. There is a bit of smoke out the back of the car there, which is going to be dropping oil onto the rear tyre. So that's a better shot. That tells the story. We've had a mechanical failure of some description. You can see just behind the right front tyre there, all that smoke and oil being dumped. And that's what set this off. That was the catalyst for causing this rollover for Aaron Cameron. So second one for the year if you're playing at home.
Yeah, the one at Adelaide wasn't as violent as this one up at the top of Wakefield Street. Up at Slap Point, he just got himself into second position behind his teammate Ryle Harris. As the red flag is out, the time continues to count down here in this East Coast Bull Bars Super Utes practice session.
A little bit of speed involved here, but for me, what I think is really, really good is that sand trap has done its job. It's slowed the car down. Okay, it's contributed to the trip up. Now let's have a look at this in real time with no slow-mo. So you can see that smoke and oil spray coming out pretty much directly onto the right rear tyre. That's caused this rear lockup. Round he goes, and at this point, Aaron's a passenger. So back to my point about the sand trap. It's done its job. It's slowed the car up. And Woods has lost a spot there already to Harris. So I was just keeping an eye on that to see how that was going to play out. There's lots of rubbing going on. What did we say after Townsville? It's not abnormal to see these cars go too wide. Oh, McKeldin, we've lost the left rear wheel with the axle still attached.
I'm not surprised there was damage to it. The impact in the middle of that turn, and the wheel has just planted itself in the gravel down there at turn number 2. Someone had to give.
A bit of chaos is going to ensue, isn't it?
And there is McKeldin climbing out, slamming the door. He was frustrated yesterday after qualifying. I saw him in the paddock down here. Went backwards after that. form he had in the second and final practice session yesterday and didn't even make it to turn number 3 in race number 2. More bits and pieces coming off. Formosa snapping sideways. Alexander moving hard right just in case the 49 got out of shape. We complete the first lap. It's Walsh.
Looks like Chris Formosa. Sorry to butt in there, Nolts. Looks like he's got some issues in the background. Formosa, he was the guy that probably arguably got the best start, but he got boxed in, unfortunately. The two guys ahead of him closed that gap. And then we got to this point. There you go. So it was rear wheel from McKeldin rolling over the top of Wilson's rear wheel.
Under load.
Under load, yeah. And it's that momentum from McKeldin's car that, unfortunately, has ended up plucking that rear wheel out, and there it goes. It's dislodged itself from the back of his car.
You pull up just to the left-hand side, and the wheel would just plant itself in the gravel right in front of our camera on the exit of turn 2. A tough day, or a tough weekend, for the 99 Kubota entry once again. Here it is in slow-mo. So he tries to put the 99 into a gap that was, you think, closing?
Yeah, unfortunately the gap wasn't there, and that's that point there that I was saying. So when McKeldin's car has that much momentum and it rolls past, the two just grab each other. It would have broken, you can see that rear swing arm that's underneath the car, would have broken the mount points at the bottom and top of that. And that's when it's just plucked that axle out. So the axle is connected into a hub inside that rear wheel, and the weakest point was inside the diff housing in the centre.
More going on the final turn. This was Woods into Formosa on the exit of turn number 6. And this just happened a few seconds ago. This was Harris, after setting a new lap record, skating gravel high into the air on the turn 4 left-hander. So new race leader. And now watch Crick looking for the move down the inside. Oh, he's into him. And Walsh will loop around here.
And again, 3 cars into one corner just does not work, unfortunately. But the boys had to have a go. Small opportunity, and he had to take it, and he had a crack at getting the job done. But unfortunately, I feel like a fair portion of the blame sits in his lap at this point. That's just my thoughts. I'm sure everybody else will have a different opinion, but you do need to be a bit further up the inside there. And when you are on the extreme inside, you've got to make sure that you are far enough up that you can slow the car down. And if there is any contact, that it's direct side-on-side contact and not contact into the rear of the car that you're trying to pass. So unfortunately, it looks like that's what's happened there. Cameron Crick, a little bit of rear contact with Ben Walsh. He was doing such a good job, but unfortunately this all happened off the back of that one little mistake that Walsh made, braking and trying to get the car turned through turn 3. Ran a little bit wide, made him vulnerable.
And we're underway here at Queensland Raceway as they fan out. Look at Cameron Crick trying to move down the inside of his teammate Mick Cetus, who finished 3rd. But be careful through here, backs out just in time.
And speaking of backs out, Alexander had a massive moment. He couldn't catch it. And we've got another rollover. That's a big one.
And that's for Cedars, who's rolled over in turn number 2. A lot of contact, and he's gone as far as the concrete wall. It's rested on top.
That tells us that he's okay. Always awkward to get out of a car when it's parked in that position, but we're always happy to see the drivers get out. So that started really at turn 1. Always the showman.
He's the showman. Wait till the helmet comes off.
Speaking of showman, exactly. He's all business at the front and very much a party at the back.
It's a real party at the back. There's the helmet coming off.
And we can only happy to joke about it now that we know that he's okay as he gets out of the car. And there's that very famous hairdo that I've alluded to over the course of the weekend. They did sweep in together. They made light contact there, but it's this point here where Alexander, the rear of the car, he's on the throttle. He's had a little moment. He's come back across the circuit. And it was at that point Mick Cetus would have thought, oh, the seas have parted. I'm going to lead this race. And unfortunately, Tom Alexander has slid back across the road, lightly made contact with the rear of that ute, and that was just enough to send him across to the outside of the road. So look how big this slide is. Alexander trying to gather it, huge amounts of opposite lock, too much, and then it spat him back the opposite way. Riles tried to straighten him up, unintentionally, of course, and then he's gathered more opposite lock, and as he's done that, the car's still porpoising across the road on the Sandown. Looks like his foot's still into the throttle, which you've got to try and keep a bit of momentum across that sand.
And look how close.
And this is where the damage comes in. So Cedars very unlucky to not make it past directly in that left rear wheel. And it's at this point here that the car is on its way to multiple rolling over.
Got the rear panel at the bottom before it got into a series of rolls for Mick Cedars. Bits and pieces, including the wheel, shearing away from the 45 Mitsubishi Triton. They are built tough, but that's going to take a lot of work to get that turned around, even for Sandown.
So I'm just doing a quick count. That's 4, 5 rollovers before it came to rest. So let's have a look at this, because that was a slow-mo replay. They never look as bad in slow-mo as they do in real time. So let's have a look at this. All happening very quick on the run up to turn 1. Little light contact. Rear of the car of Alexander. I've got it. No, I don't. And then back into the rear of Cedars, and over it goes. Wow.
Coming to rest on the wall down there at turn 2. Real time from the turn 2 camera. So just about got past it. Mick Cedars, and just enough of a hit. Go for a series of rolls. And the wheel across the back of the fence, landing on the wall. He's climbed out of the car, he's A-OK. But the number 45 Total Tools Triton, not the case. Here it is, looking from the final turn. And there it goes into a series of rolls. Panels coming off and landing just on top. Mick Cedars climbed out the passenger side.
So I could see Mick Cedars' green, fluoro green helmet in that shot that we saw from the exit of turn 3, as he was trying to get out. So that's good to see, and always the showman, Mick Cedars. Well done, mate. He'll be a bit sore. And the mullet style that he runs. So it's good on him. He's become the unofficial spokesperson for Aussie SuperUtes.
Well, it's great for the series to have that personality in it. Now, this is turn 1, and that's Ben Walsh in the Car City Toyota having a very, very big moment.
Cars coming from your extreme left side outside these cars. Now, a bit of rear lock happening here for Ryle. Means that he can't get to the apex. The rear of the car has actually gone before he got to the turn-in point, and he's just a passenger from there. When he hit that curb, it's accentuated the lack of grip in the rear.
So you'll see
around it goes.
You'll see it on this shot as well, where they contour it back in on that exit curb, and quite big marks left there, and a couple of cars have already been off. And then when the turbo spools up, they're actually getting wheel spin in that car, which is affecting his drive off of the slow corners. Walsh down the inside of Ryle Harris, who's been in the thick of the action, and that's when more of that debris was coming off. So there was the grille, the Mazda BT50 hanging off. It's since departed ways from the Queenslander's car, and this was a big dive actually from Alexander down the inside of Walsh. So half turned him round, they did the right thing and straightened him up, but loses some spots, and I think race control probably won't look too fondly on that. This is another look from the inside contact. Walsh spins half the way around and then just straightens him up as get the car turn there and slots into 3rd place. That Cedars running out wide, so to Formosa in the Ford Ranger a little bit further back. Ryle Harris was in the wars yesterday, and it continues today. There's big damage on the front of his car, and he's collected Cedars as his car was turned around at turn 2 and 3.
All categories competing in motorsport, because without any of those people who are here very much late into the night, this show does not go on. So there's that replay that I was looking for. Definitely Cedars making contact with Harris, helping him to try and spin the rear of that car, but then also, so that's Wood in the Toyota ahead. There's Harris on the outside. They go down into turn 2. Pretty light contact, but it's that awkward contact where the left front wheel of Cedars' car makes contact with the right rear of Harris, and it almost trips him up. We're now on board with Ryle.
This is perfect. The 2 cars carrying the onboard cameras, thanks to Yokohama this weekend, right involved in this. All of the lot possible, the Mazda BT50, and straightens it out and ends up resuming behind the car that made contact with in the first place. So Tom Alexander was going down the inside of Mick Cedars as well, so that's why he was a little bit wide and couldn't grab the apex at turn 2.
What's happened here? Here we go. Let's have a Formosa in the 49 on the inside, trying to get the move done. Wow, that was never on. So that was just a big mistake there from Chris Formosa. You could see he knew he wasn't going to get up the inside of Gasper.
Well, and he's going to get the front as well. He backs it in, the Kubota tractors. One in, one out. And down the hill it goes
for Matt McKeldin, the man from the Gold Coast, and right in the front of Thomas Gasparak. Did the AC Delco Colorado survive? He just got around the outside. Let's have a look at it now in real time. He's got the curb, which I talked about would have been real slippery, hard to pull it up. Spins around, one in, and backs the front at the same time. I mean, they're tough utes. And here's Gasparak to the outside. Did he get away? Only just for the AC Delco entry.
Wow, that was close. That could have been much worse, but a lot of damage sustained here on the Kubota entry. That one there was pretty light. If he had have been able to stop this next hit on the right-hand front corner there, the damage wouldn't have been too bad, but that one there would have done a lot of damage to Island on board with Ben Walsh.
Yeah, rattled him out the seat, didn't it, down there at Murray's Corner. Then this amazing lose for Craig Dontis. It went on and on and on. We thought he was just going to grab a gear and keep going, but he ended up looping the 87 Mitsubishi Triton. That was before he set his fastest lap of the session.
Now it's just a globe, no cover.
Through Stallman. Oh, this was always going to happen. Cars get into it, and how'd they survive that?
They've all come out of that. We held our breath because it was Cameron, the car, the white and blue car on the right. Looked like he made light contact with Formosa about now. And then that made everybody check up. Formosa has ended up on the left-hand side of the shot up ahead. Here we go. This is from the outside.
There was Cedars as well involved in this.
Cedars is trying to get through there. So that little bit of contact from Cameron made Formosa really sideways. Everyone else has gotten out of the throttle, and they've all come out the other side.
In shock, but well done to everybody.
He knows that. Now here's a replay. So we've got Mick Cedars on the outside. Oh, he's done that all on his own. That was a bit like what happened to Jack Perkins in the supercar session. There's a little divot, and that's how he's ended up out there. Wow, that could have been huge. And he made contact with the concrete wall on the driver's left.
But how did he get away with that? Looks like it's just nicked the wall. Oh, maybe a bit more to that.
That tells a bit more of the story, doesn't it? But still, not a huge amount of damage, but the crowd up there
rear chatter
cheering.
Coming in to debut this weekend. Last year's Ladies' Cup champion in the Aussie racing cars from Newcastle. And got the concrete. No, got the tyre wall just.
And thankfully it was direct side on impact, so disperses the energy across the full side of the car, which is lucky for Charlotte. She was able to get that thing into first gear, drive out of there. Little cheer from the people up in the background. They were excited by that. I'm sure Charlotte wasn't.
How lucky was she to find that tyre barrier? Another couple of metres up the road would be Tom Alexander, who's found the wall up there at turn 14. I was keeping an eye on the rear of that Holden, Colorado. He's going to have an incident. Better to have it at the top of the circuit there and bring it back into the pits. The Rostone Racing team will take a look at that. And classic surface paradise right there.
Yeah, just looking at it, you could see Tom on his approach to that little junction to come around to the final corner. Rear of the car just stepped sideways in the opposite direction. That's the bit that started all of this. You see the rear locking there at that first phase. It's put him on the wrong angle all the way through there. Not the first guy to tag that wall either, looking at the tyre bundle there, but it really started back at the entry phase to that back chicane. You could just see rear locking, and we've heard everybody in the commentary box talking about it this weekend. As soon as you arrive at that first phase of the double chicane, everything after that is progressively getting worse and worse and worse. And Luke Vanner is a lucky boy to get out of that, because if he made contact, a lot of damage, but thankfully got away with it.
Mick Cedars, who's found the tyre wall at the first corner, and more than just a glance for the Total Tools Mitsubishi Triton, has taken a big chunk out of the tyre wall and a bigger chunk out of the Triton.
Yeah, that's broken that steering arm on the left front. As soon as it's dug itself into that conveyor belting that holds the tyres together, looks like it's grabbed. The rest of the cars tried to continue on. It's pulled that left front wheel, and there's a little tie rod there that will connect the steering arm to the rack. And it's found its weakest link, and it's gone, I'm going to depart ways with you. And that left front has got way too much toe out happening. Have a look at this, real time. And that's the ensuing mess off the back of making big contact.
Oh, wow. He got it again further down the road as well, and it's pushed the wall in on an angle, and that is game, set, and match. In a lap right now, and is there more drama now for Luke Vanner? He's found the wall as well at the same spot.
down at turn 1. He's pulled up. It's like a parking lot down there now on the run to turn number 4.
We don't have to worry about the red flag coming out now because the checkered flag is out. That will be the end of this session.
Look at the debris on the course. He was locked up coming in. The world's best technologies, Hilux.
So he's had a mistake there on the entry. I saw him grab the steering wheel twice. He had to move his hand off the wheel and have another bite at it. So by this stage here, he's just a passenger. He can't do any more. He's already committed. Far too much speed being carried. And that is massive. And look at his hands. It's just ripped the steering wheel out of his hands. He's let go, which is one of the best things you can do so that your thumb doesn't get caught in those little grips, because very easy to break a thumb. But that is a lot of impact, and pulled that wheel out of his hand quickly.
Well, he teased every wall in this session. Eventually, it had to fire back or shot at him. And if it's going to happen in the end of the session, well, it's going to qualify in 3rd. For the first race anyway, and everything moving around, including the windscreen wipers.
Well, he's still wrestling that steering wheel at this point, trying to make sure that he doesn't end up in the fence on the right-hand side. Very deep on the brakes from Matty. And again, like this move that Banner put on. There we go, his turn, he's got full lock on that car and it will not rotate. Too much speed for the tyre grip that I spoke about. And look at that, made ever so light contact with the outside wall. Thankfully, it was just in the bumper bar. It didn't look like
the start of the race. This was the move from Woods. They were 3 wide down there. That's why Alexander got served up. And poor Ben Walsh was right in the middle of that sandwich, allowing Ryle Harris to make up a couple of positions. And this was the Harris highlights reel, wasn't it? Just started picking off these cars one after one. Meanwhile, version 2 between Alexander and Walsh, and Craig Woods, who tagged the fence in that one.
So Tom Alexander, that says why he was so far back. He was involved in 2 incidents that we didn't catch. And that rear tail light assembly, I thought it was off contact with the concrete wall, but it was actually Tom Alexander.
Well done to Aaron Cameron, but there was more happening here on the final lap, and that was Ben Walsh finding the tyre wall, and Mick Cedars very lucky not to run into the back of him.
And Ben Walsh is very unlucky to get dragged into that tyre bundle. Let's have a look at it here from a different angle. You can see the car rode in just ever so gently. And I actually thought, and Ben probably thought also, that he was just going to glance along it and away he'd go, but he got about 2/3 of the way along and it sucked him in a little bit more. And
who is going to give him to turn number 1? And Craig Woods, what a start from him.
Massive move by Craig Woods. I don't know what happened to Ryle Harris there, but I actually thought Tom Alexander nailed the start. Speaking of nailed the start, is that Crick?
Crick is hit the wall pretty much in the spot where we saw Mick Cedars do it in qualifying on Friday. Someone had to give down there, but I didn't think it would happen further down the field, and what a shame for Cameron Crick. His race is done.
We're on the exit of turn 2.
So, Tom Alexander in a good position here. Will he dive deep under brakes into the left hand? Oh, he hits the wall and he hits Woods, and they'll stack up. Front and rear damage to the Penrith Toyota Hilux.
Big damage on the left front wheel of Alexander's as well, so both Woods.
Down here into turn number 1. I didn't think they'd get through here.
It's 2 lots of 3 wide. First row we're looking 3 wide. Ryle said, deal me out of this. I know how this plays out. I've seen it all before. Oh, and that shows. Geez, Crick was right up over the top of that tyre barrier.
Took a big bite out of it, didn't he?
This is going to tell the story even better. So he was compromised. He couldn't slot in. And the car, being 4-wheel drive and feeling very comfortable in getting up and over some little curbs and hills like that, has ridden straight up over the top of that conveyor belt strapping that holds all those tyres up against the concrete face there.
No bonus points right in the wall.
That is a lot of air.
That's why that car come crashing down to earth, and his race is done back there at the tail of the field. This is the view from Chris Formosa, the Allgate Auto Doors Ford Ranger, and lucky not to go into the back of Cameron Crick as the Mitsubishi Triton was spat out. It's more happening. That's what happened to Richard Mork. We saw him limping away, and more damage to Mick Cedars and to Thomas Gasparak. There's not a Super Ute out here without any damage on it right now.
And this is the replay where Alexander tried to make that move up the inside of Woods on the opening lap, made contact with the inside concrete wall. That pushed him into Woods. Works as a bit of an aid at any point. I'm not 100% sure on that. Maybe that gap from behind the rear window there that we can see is too big and the air disconnects, but one way or the other, Ryle's pushing hard now. Likewise was Mick Cedars there.
He almost got away with that.
Nearly got away with it, but the issue with that rubber strapping is you can run along it a little bit, but then all of a sudden, if you just get caught in between those little edges, it sucks you in, and it's torn the right front out of that car, and that is huge amount of damage. Up on 2 wheels there for Cedars.
And he just got that car up into 4th position on that lap. We've got a camera placed on the wall here and just got to the edge. Just where it goes from 2 to 1 on the tyre walls. It dragged him in and spat him out the other side. The Yokohama replay telling the story here at the exit of turn number 1. And significant damage now to the Total Tools Mitsubishi Triton.
Such a fine line around these street tracks. You want to push on to be able to utilise all the road that's available to you, but
it's pretty narrow at Watt Street on the first lap, but it's the D-Max that leads Matt McKeldin, the Kubota Tractors entry. Richard Moore is up in the 3rd position already, and Ryle Harris on the charge. It's Cameron who climbs the tyre wall and keeps it on all 4 wheels,
only just, but it has torn the right front steering arm out of that car. Look at the right front wheel, it's pointing. You're right, Matt, and the damage sustained on that car is pretty substantial. So let's have a look at how this happens. Aaron Cameron was on the outside of the shot there, so he was on the outside of somebody else. Couldn't catch who that was. Was that Mick Cedars? They've made light contact, and that's pushed Aaron into that conveyor belt strapping that holds the tyres all together in front of that concrete wall. And man, how lucky was he not to go over? We've seen that car roll a couple of times. So this is where this whole incident started. So this is Craig Woods, Cedars in the 45, Aaron Cameron trying to go around the outside. Mick Cedars, it looked like he just had a little bobble there when he tried to get on the throttle, push his car wide into Aaron Cameron, but also Brett Peters wasn't mincing his words in any respect, was he? And to be honest, looking at it, it looked...
Oh, more going on here now for Wilson. He was tagged going down to the middle.
As well.
Yes. So it's all on. It's a car park on the right-hand side with Charlotte Pointing in the mix as well. That was happening at the top of Watt Street. And now for the second time, the Vodafone safety car will come out. Goodness me, Cedars arrives on the scene hot with waved yellows as well.
It's in the background. That's Craig Woods, the 64, who's in this championship battle, making contact with the back of Wilson's car. At that point, Wilson has no control. He's just being turned around effectively. All the weight on the left rear of that car has unloaded it, spun him around. Very lucky to not make contact with that inside wall, but it has spun him to the outside and into Craig Woods. Now, there's a bit of damage there. Has that pushed Woods into the concrete barrier as well? And unfortunately for Charlotte Pointing in the 52, she's got nowhere to go at this point, and Steve Wilson rolling back in front of her.
Oh, she got Tom Alexander as well.
Nowhere to go because Tom Alexander was on the left-hand side, and that's where that contact was.
The D-Max was slow.
How's Aaron Russell in the background there doing an absolutely brilliant job to not run smack into the back of Charlotte Pointing's car. So here's another angle.
Coming across the top. That's what caused the bottleneck. And then the Hilux just got the edge of the D-Max. We were lucky not to have a bigger incident down there. It's big enough. And then Mick Cedars would arrive on the scene about 10 seconds after this. Here it is now from the in-car of the Penrith Toyota Hilux of Craig Woods. So there is the D-Max on the right-hand side. It was pedestrian-like on the exit. Just moved across on him.
And it's awkward, to be honest. That shot there, for me, tells a bigger story than anything. So
chip going into race number 3. Hasn't this blown open? That's the black flag, and Justin Ruggie is going to collect it. Literally down there at the bottom turn.
Let's have a look. That's Matt McKeldin in the 99. He's had a little lock-up. This is Justin Ruggie. Oh, very quick thinking from the flag marshals to remove both the black flag and that number board and bring it in behind the fence, because that could have been very ugly if the car had made contact with either of those two items.
And the charge down to turn number 1, the bottleneck here at the left-hander onto Watt Street. Oh, Aaron Russell locks it up, goes wide, tags the wall, he's into the wall. And there is the curse back from the commentary position. And the 87, just like we saw with Mick Cedars on Friday, collecting the tyre wall on the right-hand side. Watch Harris here. I just caught it in the replay. He got hit, or he hit the car on the way through. So we're in car with the Mazda BT50. So there's the 87, and listen to this. Just a slight nick on the rear of the West End Mazda BT50. The shot from the wall cam on your Yokohama replay.
So this will show it, and it was just on the right rear indicator tail light section. So thankfully for Ryle, it's not in the suspension, because we've seen so far this weekend a lot of suspension damage done very, very easily.